Welcome to the show, everybody. I want to remind you all to like and subscribe on YouTube. It's youtube.com/film talk radio. Jhane Myers, Comanche, welcome to the show.
Hey, thank you very much. Thanks for having me.
Oh, I'm just so pleased to have you here, and I'm so pleased you've been number one on so many lists lately. The film Prey is available on Hulu now. It stars Amber Midthunder, and Jhane Myers is the producer and also the consultant on the Comanche language. So I think maybe the first question we can start it off with is this is a Predator film, and why are the Comanche the last people the Predator wants to mess with?
Because at the time, this movie is set in the 1700s. So at the time, that was at the height of the Comanche Empire. That was pre-colonization, pre-reservation. So for us, we were just living our normal lives, and it was funny because Dan Trachtenberg, who is the director and our writer, when they were coming up and thinking of the story, they just Googled who are the most fierce native, what was the most fierce native tribe, and Comanches popped up. And then they popped up something else. Who were the best skilled warriors? Comanches popped up. Like they did three Google searches and Comanches popped up. So lucky me.
Oh, wow. Well, and yeah, before we, I guess, get into the genesis of that, do you want to tell us a little bit about, who you are, your culture, your expertise in not just the language, but the history, and how that's made a place for you in the movies in Hollywood?
Oh, yes. I think I bring a really unique skill set. I'm Jhane Myers. I'm Comanche and Blackfeet, but I'm enrolled on with the Comanche Nation. I grew up in Oklahoma. I'm also a traditional artist and a fine artist. And I do believe that like all of these kind of skills that I've had in my life, I can bring unique things to film. So not only did was I the creative producer on this, I had the contacts and we were able to, this is the first time that a brand new movie has been dubbed in the Comanche language. So I used our Comanche language department and our number one Comanche conversational speaker, Guy Narcomi. So we had two people, so there were three of us that did this because there's not a model for this since it's never been done. I mean, think about when other movies have been put into a language like Navajo, the movie's already finished, right? So they can take their time and they can do this. We did this simultaneously with, like rushing to make sure that we made our Hulu date, on when we were turning the film into Hulu. So that was pretty unique.
And so it's the first new movie in native language, is that, or in
in
any
in
language?
in a native language. It's the first new movie upon release that you have the option to watch it completely in that native language. It's also the first time that the Comanche language has ever been used in a whole film.
Well, congratulations on that. I think that's definitely a significant first. And the film turned out to be even a bigger hit than anyone expected. I saw a lovely tweet from Jesse the Body Ventura endorsing it as part of the Predator family. The press has been phenomenal, not just about how good the movie is, but about the light that it sheds on the importance of indigenous stories. I think that's something maybe you have a lot to say about.
Yes, that's really important because, first of all, a franchise film. This is the largest studio film that I've ever worked on. And the fact that it is a franchise is really unique because if you think of everybody that has carried this franchise, they've been these huge muscle bound men, right? So this is the first time that we have a woman that is a lead. And not only is it a woman that's a lead in the Predator franchise, but it's a native woman. And it's somebody from our hometown, Jacques. She's from Santa Fe, New Mexico, and she is native. And to have her as the lead in this is just phenomenal. When I first saw this project, I knew I wanted to be a part of it because number one, of my culture, but two, I'm a big fan of the Predator franchise. I mean, I grew up on those, that was like some of the first action films that I had ever seen, and it just kind of blew me away. So I really wanted to be a part of this creative team. And it really was a small creative team because we made this during the pandemic. So yeah, we were someone used the word sequestered the other day, and I said, "Oh, sequestered. I guess kind of we were because the border was closed, and we were just up there filming and making this film because there was no way that we were able to come back and forth. And usually in a film, you get to come home on a long weekend or a holiday, or But this we just did 6.5 months of work in Canada.
Well, and you mentioned that was detrimental to your love life at the time.
When did I mention that? You remember everything. Well, it could be. I think it really was. No, yes, that was a little detrimental. That's okay. I'm focused on my career, I should say.
Yeah, I love a woman who takes her work very seriously. Now, it was such a coup, I think, to see Amber Midthunder skyrocket into this role of a star seemingly overnight, but she had had a lot of experience compared to the young man who played the second role. And so you found him wrestling pigs and shooting at raccoons and thought, movie star.
Yeah, the Beverly Hillbillies tune was playing in the background. No, but he really was in Tennessee. But like for Amber, this is a great jump for her because this shows that yes, she can carry a feature film because she's been in a feature film. She's been in several, but as minor parts or secondary parts. So this is great for her career because it solidifies her as an action star in film. We've seen her several times on different shows in television, Roswell most recently, and then she did action for Marvel in Legion. So, this kind of just really, like, I think her whole career has been building for this moment. And so, here she is, and boom. And then Dakota, on the other hand, he's a musician.
And the actor who ended up playing the monster, the predator, he was a former basketball player. Is that right?
Yes, he played in Italy, I think, in the Italy I don't know if it's NBA, but whatever their professional basketball. And he's done some creature acting, but actually we redesigned the whole Predator because when you take him back, you take the Predator back 300 years, then you can change some things, right? Because what we see nowadays in Predator movies is an evolved Predator. So it's just like we as people would evolve, as stature and all that. So that was a fun part, like redesigning the Predator with our ADI people. So we found him in LA because he had the right. We wanted this predator to be more feral looking, more primal, tall, slender, not so much in past films where it looks like there's a wrestler in a suit and they're all muscled up. We wanted him to. And one thing we liked before from previous predators is when he would jump from tree to tree. And we kind of like that. We wanted to take this back to, like kind of the themes that the original predator had. So he can't be like really heavy if he's jumping from tree to tree because he would fall out of the tree. So cloaked or not cloaked. So Dane tried on the suit for us, and we did all these different, we had him do these different moves and different things just to make sure the suit worked.
God, that must have been so much fun. And the mask being made of bone, that must be that must have been part of those conversations or emerged.
Oh, absolutely. The mask, even the weaponry, we wanted the weaponry to not look so advanced, but you still have some of your same weaponry that you've seen before because Predator has such a huge fan base. People can't wait to see the weapons that the Predator has. But, we wanted to try some different things. For me, because I don't know if I'm sure you know this, I'm a rock climber and I climb walls. Not, I mean, outside of these walls, but so since we were having him jump from tree to tree, I added a dew claw because he would need that because sometimes when you're climbing, you have just as much power on the outer side of your foot as you do on the inside, with like your big toe. So I got to add that. That was my contribution.
And Jane, it's so cool to see you really leading the charge on this. I think you're a woman who's producing this big budget motion picture. And then at the same time, there's a story within the picture about this woman rising among men as a hunter. Did you sometimes identify with that character throughout the process? Was there a little bit of you in this young woman who is hunting the predator?
How did you know this? That's kind of funny that you say that. But we started talking about my childhood and when I grew up in Oklahoma. And I used to be like a Nadu. I was the only girl hunting with my boy cousins, and um, that was kind of a fun time growing up, when I was a younger person. And so I kind of told him about that, and we start talking about a bunch of other things. And then I didn't know. I mean, I couldn't tell. You sometimes you could tell when somebody likes you, sometimes you can't. So I thought, well, we'll see, because everybody would say, "How did it go?" And I said, "I don't know. I don't know. He really didn't say." And then later, the studio called and offered me the job. So I was like, "Oh my gosh!" And then he's so quiet, like he's just one of those quiet, brilliant people. And later we were in an interview together, sitting there together doing an interview. We were out in LA. And he was like, "Yeah, the first time I talked to Jhane, after we hung up, I called our EVP and I was like, I think I just talked to the grown up Nadu. I didn't talk to, a native woman producer who just happens to be Comanche, but, he said he felt like he talked to Nadu."
It's is that still strange? Is it still kind of like you have to pinch yourself that they're calling you looking for a native producer? Because that's fairly new, right?
Well, I mean, I've been producing for a while now, as you know, and yeah, all kinds of work, all kinds. I mean, I have really diversified myself, and I tell you what, the only thing I have left on my resume to that I haven't done is animation. I haven't produced an animation, even though I helped out with the animation part, and got it going. We did have a really good coordinator that coordinated the animation that's at the end of the movie and the end credits. But I have done every type of job. So I want to make sure that when I interview, somebody can say, "Oh, have you ever done this?" And I can say, "Oh, absolutely. I did this project. I did that project." I've even produced an opera. So a lot of people don't know a lot of things about rattlesnakes. But if you skin a rattlesnake and its head, if it's beheaded, trying to how to say this tactfully, if it's beheaded, then you can tell, then if you skinned it, it would still move and it would still be trying to coil and strike or whatever, even though it doesn't have a head. So I was happy to put that part in there. And some of our people didn't believe it that were on our team. They were like, "I don't think that's true." And there's a video on YouTube. So I found the video. So when we were having our morning meeting, I popped that video on, because you have to remember, like, these are all men. I'm the only like woman in this, in this team, this, like I said, a small creative team. And I said, "Watch this." And I clicked on, like, we were on the big Zoom, and I clicked on the YouTube, and they were like, "Oh my God, Jhane, that's so disgusting."
You really have a knack for being one of the guys, and I think that story illustrates it very well. Was that a skill that kept coming into play during the production and relating to this all male creative team?
That's a skill that I've had for my whole life. I'm always one of the guys. I am always, whether it's like all of, our male native actors, I'm usually the one person hanging out with them, or, I mean, it doesn't bother me. I grew up as a tomboy. It shows that a native woman can carry a film. It shows that, yes, there's a native producer that can work with creative, that can make sure that, our film is, you know, has the right appropriation and the right authenticity to make it interesting. I mean, we took this home to my tribe, to the Comanches, and they loved it. So it was just an amazing, amazing feat. And for me to be able, I always take my films to the Comanches and do screenings, but for me to be able to do this, it was just, it was great, because you could just hear them cheering and laughing at some of the little nuances that I put on there that are directed towards Native people. And, they would get it and they would laugh, or they would be, "Oh my gosh," or "Oh," and, it's pretty cool.
It can stand alone as its own movie if you've never seen the one with Schwarzenegger, the one with Danny Glover. And then it has a ton of what they now call Easter eggs in the film. Can we bring up any of the Easter eggs, or has anybody talked to you
Sure.
about
Oh,
Easter
are you
eggs?
kidding? I already knew Easter eggs, and I was trying to say we should do this and we should do that. So, one of them, is an ode to Billy, who was in the first Predator. There was a native guy, right? And he took the Predator straight on, and he told the rest to go to the chopper. But no, he told the rest to go to the chopper. So he stood on this log, and he's just ready. And how he readies himself, he cuts himself with, his knife straight across. So you'll see Dakota, who plays Tabe, when the French trappers have him, they pull him out of that cage and they cut him straight across. So that's an ode to that, to Predator One. There's also when Nadu and I think it's Hoopy are out into the no, it's not Hoopy. It's I forget which character, but they're in the tall grass. He was the one that went to go to the take a bathroom break, and so he looks at her and he's like, "Shh, that's an Easter egg." There's all sorts of Easter eggs.
This is from a magazine called Looper. One key to its success is the film's commitment to authenticity, taking place in Comanche territory hundreds of years ago. The tribe's warriors have to fend off a Yatja who comes from the stars looking for the ultimate hunt. With its historical setting being so pivotal to the film's success, the movie could easily sink or swim on whether its portrayal of the Comanche is accurate.
It was totally important for me. I wanted everything to be accurate, whether when you walk into the camp, and how it looks and what would they be doing, their everyday things, even down to the hairbrush. You see somebody getting their hair brushed so they can be braided. That was like the type of hairbrush they would have used at that time, which was made from, my son actually made that, Philip, because he likes to make all of these traditional cultural items. So everything, it was kind of exhausting, but it was great. I worked with all the different departments, I had an office, like a nicer office in our production building, but I chose to work in the other building where I could be hands-on with the costume department, hair, makeup. We had classes on how to cut buckskin, how do you roll fringe, what colors. I even swatched the whole movie in the type of colors that would have been used during that time, because the different earth paints. So everybody, and I created a book too. I should have grabbed that book. It's somewhere around here. Anyway, but I created a book that every department got that showed, like what things look like in the 1700s. And because there are no pictures from that time, and if you think about paintings, we only have that George Catlin, his paintings. And how can one painter's non-native observation be correct of a time period, right? Because it's going to be more stylized, I would think. So I had some of those paintings, but not a lot. I had a historian do art renderings for me, and I put them all in the book for everyone. It was amazing because a lot of people were naysayers when they just heard what the premise of the movie was. You could see like what the Predator, like they have their chat places and everything, and what people were posting, and it was like, that's kind of interesting. But then I have to say that after people saw the movie, complete change.
Everybody, this was Jhane Myers with the new hit film Prey, playing now on Hulu. And thank you so much for joining us. We'll see you all next week.